One of my favorite jokes of all time, which is probably completely politically incorrect, but I'm going to tell it anyway. I'm going to tell it within quotes. I'm not telling the joke. I'm invoking my previous love in a bygone era for the joke, which is what it's actually a riddle. What has four legs and chases cats? Mrs. Katz and her lawyer. That's just one of my favorite jokes.
Wow.
Anyway, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the stand-up open mic edition of the morning meeting on two-way. Sean, your turn. Tell a quick joke or riddle.
I was just okay.
Dan, go
what
first.
Did the janitor say when he jumped out of the closet?
I'll bite. What did the janitor say when he jumped out of the closet?
Supplies.
Good.
I like Donald Trump's statement yesterday that bankers fear two things: regulators and their wives.
Yeah, that was
one of the great lines.
It was a good line. Also, right in league with what has four legs and chases cats. Thank you for joining the morning meeting. Lots in this episode. More jokes. The debut of our newest nominee for the theme song of the show. Sean's already said by consensus this is the pick. It's a yacht rock infused version of the morning meeting theme song that'll debut later today here, although you can listen to it on Twitter. And then I should cover the news, and if this were a real program, I'd say what fake anchors say all the time. So much in the news, so much to get to. There's some stuff to get to. Don't go overboard. It's August, and glad you're here. If you want
or my favorite line, the stories everyone is talking about.
Everybody's talking about. And I also like when they use GMA does this. They use the word that airplane crash or that balloon flying over the United States rather than they say that, as if, again, everybody's talking about it. Dan, is that perspiration on your neck?
No, not at all. No. No.
Okay. All right.
I'm cool, clean.
Okay. All right. Anyway, thank you for joining. If you're here on the two-way platform, want to be in on the conversation, raise your hand high and proud. And if you're watching on X or YouTube, don't raise your hand. Don't put smack in the chat. All of us should remember what Dan lives by every minute. Even when he's at the deli and they shortchange him. Peace, love, and understanding, the presumption of grace for all. I'm sorry, I gave you a 20, not a 10. That's what Dan will have to say on a regular basis.
Keep the change.
Upper East Side delis, they just want to rip you off. It's just a fact. Mayor Adams has done nothing about it. In any event,
warn everyone, Mark's awake today. Like he is.
Are you? What?
You know what has me? You know what has me fired up? Marsha Blackburn announced this morning she's running for governor of Tennessee, and for some reason that just has me on fire.
Okay.
I don't know why. Anyway, Marsha Blackburn.
Rumor for a while, wasn't it that
Pete Hegseth?
Yeah. Not just the Hegseth thing was but who was it Peyton Manning that was rumored to have had some discussions about?
He's flirted with it now for years.
Yeah. I love you talk about joke tellers. Peyton Manning is one of the great joke tellers in America. Not in terms of non-pros. He when he does like a paid speech, He's just got a
You'd
bunch
have
of
Dooley
jokes.
in Georgia, Peyton.
Yeah.
I mean, to be the SEC, election.
Yeah. In any event, reminder, and for some of you, it won't be a reminder. It'll be a shock to your system. We're doing two-way tonight at 3 p.m. Eastern time. It'll air live at 6 the normal time on YouTube. But if you want to be part of the conversation, give me an hour this afternoon, 3 o'clock Eastern time. Mark Caputo of Axios will be amongst our guests. In any event, let's run through the news. Daybook, this is based, for those of you who don't know, on the Network News Division's morning meetings, where we talk about what's coming up. White House new media pool today, Semaphore. Newsday is the print pool. Newsday, for those of you who don't know, is a newspaper on Long Island that I thought was out of business. Who owns Newsday now? I don't even know. It used to be owned.
I just guessed kind of that.
It's still the Cablevision guys, as far as I know.
And I mean,
really?
It used to be like there was a tabloid war in New York City, and you could see Newsday like on the subway. I haven't seen anybody read Newsday on the subway. Well, actually, I haven't seen anybody read a newspaper on the subway.
Yeah.
Anyway, the president today has an event at 4:30, which is simply described as makes an announcement in the Oval Office. Sean, I was unable to determine what that is. You got any idea?
I don't want to get in front of any announcements.
Very funny.
Have they run out of executive orders?
Tempt me to tell my Ari Fleischer story. I don't know what it is, but anyway, if anybody knows, put it in the chat, and I promise to read the chat in this case. So that's all the president's got on his schedule today. CNN has an incredible report. We'll discuss this in a moment. They broke this story. It's been matched by others. The vice president is hosting a an Epstein-a-thon dinner at his home tonight in the Naval Observatory, where they're going to discuss strategy. Now, it's interesting that they're having it. It's interesting that this was leaked out. It's crazy that this is that. Because I'll tell you one thing. JD Vance does a million things a day that are not reported, that are really interesting. And they never leak out. Occasionally they do, but they almost never do, including travel. He leaves Washington. Sometimes it doesn't get reported. I have no idea why this leaked out, but as you'll see here, this is an all-star team of administration officials. The vice president up until now has not been known to be particularly involved in the Epstein matter, at least publicly. But since he's involved in everything, of course he is. Susie Wiles, Pam Bondi, Todd Blanche, Kash Patel, all expected at the Naval Observatory, where the vice president talked the other day to the Ruthless Boys about how he and his kids catch fireflies at night sometimes. But anyway, that group will gather. We'll talk about that in a minute. Linda McMahon, Education Secretary, speaks at the Conservative Student Conference at 10:15 today. House and Senate are out. A bunch of CODELs to Israel. Mike Johnson, the speaker, continues his fourth day there. There are 20 Democrats traveling with Steny Hoyer, who is, as Dan will tell you, one of the staunchest supporters of Israel of any member of Congress for many, many years. And Tom Emmer is leading another CODEL to Israel. Steve Witkoff, moments ago, as they say in the news business, even though it's probably an hour ago, finished his 3-hour meeting with Vladimir Putin in Moscow. We'll talk about that. So, having said all that, again, one of my favorite journalism phrases. Having said all that, let's start with that. Here is some video, number 111, of Putin, once again, with his chum, Vladimir Putin, in Moscow today. Let's see. There it is. Hello. Hi. Hey, good to see ya. Yeah. Okay. Sean, take us inside Trump world, if you would. What could possibly happen in this meeting that would be good? Like, is the president going to get a readout from Witkoff, and what would be the best case from the president's point of view that they would expect Putin might possibly say?
The best case would be a entire ceasefire.
Plausible. I'm talking about within the realm of possibility.
Well, I mean, they're saying that there could have an air ceasefire. I mean, again, it's to me, I think Putin's going to dangle some, wimpy thing in front of them about, no airstrikes on days that end in C or begin with J.
But drones don't count.
They floated. They floated no drones and no airstrikes. They floated, but I mean, whatever.
Well, I mean, I guess that my point is that I think they're going to throw something out. You're saying what's a win? I don't think how anything less than a full ceasefire is a win, though, or a huge accomplishment, because we've seen that Putin, when he says, no drone strikes or air strikes, that just means, 4 or 5 minutes or something like that. So I think they need something substantive considering how far they've gone on this issue.
Yeah. I'll put up this headline for Dan 104, please. Dan, as you know, one of the things that Donald Trump, case he made, was that Putin did not take Ukraine territory under him in the first term. They took it under Obama. They took it under Biden, but not under him. But according to the BBC, Russian attacks on Ukraine double since Trump inauguration. That's certainly my subjective sense. What would you say is the best case out of this Witkoff meeting at this point?
I think the best case plausibly is that a Russian delegation and a Ukrainian delegation agree to meet, with the US or in Turkey or something of that nature, to where a dialogue between the two start. That's probably the best baby step you could hope for, because otherwise I agree with Sean. The Russians are just yanking our chain and pressing the case. I mean, look, Trump has lost control of this. I mean, we just have to be candid. If it was Joe Biden or Kamala Harris, people would be all over the place. He's lost control of this. Yeah. Putin's doing whatever the heck he wants.
Wait, hold on, just to be clear, if it was Kamala Harris or Joe Biden, that we wouldn't be having any of these discussions. It would be ongoing. But we would be arming them with another 100 billion in weaponry. I mean, we're tiptoeing around. Right. Just to be clear, though, none of the weaponry was actually given to them to go on the offense. It was all defensive. That's not true. That's just not true. At the end, we provided offensive missiles to go into Russia, and Biden green lighted it.
At the end.
Yeah, he did. At the end.
Yeah, at the end. So, all right, we'll keep looking. We'll keep Michael, our colleague, will keep looking for readouts to see if we hear anything about that. feel like, Michael, you sent me one, but I can't find it. So if there's a readout, please send it to me about the Putin Witkoff meeting. Gaza put up 105. This story says 20 people were killed. I've seen other reports, including the Associated Press, that say closer to 50 people have been killed in the last news cycle as they attempt to get access to food aid. The Israelis continue to say that this is all the fault of Hamas, and Hamas is stealing a lot of the food aid intended for families. There continue to be reports that Netanyahu's ready to just say, well, the hostages might die anyway, so we're just going to go in and take over the whole thing. The president keeps saying it's up to Israel. He repeated that again yesterday. So, Dan, where are we on this story now?
Well, the other piece is that there were reports yesterday that the White House is talking about, quote, taking over aid distribution.
Yeah.
It was thin on details, but I think it goes to the bigger point, which is Trump is frustrated, and appropriately so. I think he's now the sixth U.S. president who's been frustrated with Bibi Netanyahu, that Netanyahu does whatever he wants to do. And the situation does not look good. Trump is very aware of visuals. And I think he's frustrated about how do we get these, children and women and men aid that need food to survive. And I thought the fact that Trump is so frustrated. I don't know if we're going to get to it. Josh Shapiro, who's no one's doubting his pro-Israel, he's Jewish stance, came out and said, this is not a good look. We need to get aid and flood the zone. So you almost have a consensus now forming in the U.S. that something has to be done.
Sean.
I kind of agree with Dan a little, but it's sort of, again, I said this the other day and I'll repeat it, but I feel like this is a yin and a yang, that President Trump obviously is moved by the imagery of people in Gaza starving, especially among the children. But at the same time, he hasn't done or said anything to tell Netanyahu to not go forward. And that's sort of the interesting dynamic here.
Yeah, quite the contrary. He's been leaning more towards saying it's up to, he said yesterday, I believe the exact words were, it's up to Israel. So, all right, let's go.
Can I ask you guys, though, if they go in and they take over Gaza and Netanyahu says to the United States and Trump, we need some form of help, does Trump provide it?
He tries to get Egypt and Saudi to provide it.
Okay.
All right, let's come back stateside. Redistricting. The media continues to make heroes out of all the Democrats who are talking about redistricting. The Democrats continue to overpromise what they can actually accomplish. Texas Democratic legislators are still not back, but there seems to be determination. That California plan revealed by sources overnight to many news organizations suggests that they're going to try to match what Texas is doing, which is take 5 Republican House seats away. Both states, if they succeeded, would reduce the number of House seats held by the opposition to a very small number. And I'll continue to say, if you're outraged about what Texas is doing, you should be outraged about what Illinois did, and outraged about what New York has done, and Maryland and Massachusetts. I don't understand.
Florida and hold on now. Go back to the Jeb Bush
of
era.
Of course, but this is what states do, and the whole point is to have competitive districts, right? That's the public policy good.
Well, that's not the point of this anymore.
Well, that should be. We should have more competitive districts. The whole point of what Texas is doing is the same as what Illinois did.
So I actually disagree with that.
Whoa.
Shouldn't be. I'm not a fan of competitive districts. I think that's not. I think they should be representative districts. So they're not. That's not synonymous. So if your state is 80-20, then you should kind of reflect the delegation.
But sure, but it would be good. It would be good. It would be good for the country if more districts were competitive. That's a public.
I don't know that I agree with
that. But
how do you hold a member of an elected official accountable if they're in no danger of losing?
But let's just take, hypothetically, let's just take a state that's 75% Republican, 25% Democrat. I would argue in that case it should be 3-1, right? That the congressional delegation should try to reflect the state a little bit more. But when you have a district, when you're making competitive, and the person who's representative, where I live in the 8th district of Virginia, the district looks like a snake, and it goes out into northern Western Virginia to create this thing. And so you're Don Beyer, who's is sort of representing 5 people in parts of McLean, so that like that to me isn't actually helpful.
Well, I don't mind if the districts look funny as long as they're trying to keep communities together. And I agree with you that the delegation should be broadly representative of the makeup of the state. But all those things being equal, it's better for the country if the districts are not drawn to make them red or blue in a solid way. It's better to have competition. I don't know.
You get competition.
I don't know how anybody could argue with that. I would rather live in a
red area where the competition is a primary.
Look, I think
it should be both. Even if you live in a red area, your red member of Congress could be there for 50 years, and he might be or she might be impregnable in a primary. But it's better for the voters if there can be an actual competition of ideas.
Yeah,
sure, of course. But I mean, I do, because this is a right-wing talking point that Texas is responding to what Illinois and Maryland did. You got to go back. If we're going to do the history book, in 2000, Jeb Bush, Tom Ridge in Pennsylvania, in Ohio, they hit the throttle and absolutely changed the maps. I think Florida at one point was 80-20 Republicans to Democrats in a 51-49 state.
Yeah, but Dan, do you think those are the 2 states that ever did it before? No one did it before then?
No, I'm not. But what I'm getting to is Democrats got crushed in the 2000 redistricting wars, right? Because the GOP had all those governorships that they won in 94. They got reelected in 98, and they wanted to try to keep the House. So in 2010, when Democrats had these states, Illinois and Maryland were 2 huge ones that everyone was like, Martin O'Malley, we got to press the case. Democrats did the same thing. I go back to all of this started this year because the White House called in the Texas delegation and said, we want you to try to get more seats because we may lose the House.
Yeah.
That is what started this.
No. What started it was when some political operative invented the capacity to redistrict using computers.
Mark,
That's what started. But
Mark,
Dan,
you can't say
that. You're starting. You're choosing when to start the narrative of the story.
Of this cycle. When did it start?
Sure. But what does it matter?
Got the idea.
Yeah. What does it matter, Dan? Why does it matter? It matters
because that's the domino that fell. That's getting all the rest.
The domino that started was when some political operative said, "Hey, we can use computers to redistrict to maximize the number of seats we hold." I don't know when that was, Dan, but it was before Texas.
Yeah, but again.
Every state
called them into the White House,
except for the few states.
But hold on.
Except for the few states that are patsies who chose to go with a nonpartisan commission, which largely just turns into incumbent protection. Except for those,
you're going back to the beginning of time. That's like saying when they wrote the Constitution, they screwed this. Mark, this started for this cycle.
Sure, but Dan,
Texas,
of course. But what does it matter that Texas started this rant? What does it matter? If you're talking about whether to denounce Texas for doing something improper, but that's what your party's doing.
No,
Sean.
Where's that?
I mean, look, guys. First of all,
no offense. That's nonsense.
Wait, hold on. I'll give Dan his argument. Sure, this cycle started with Texas, but where did they get the idea? They said, "Hey, last time New York tried to pull this, Illinois did it. Like, why can't we do it?" So, yeah, sure, this cycle. Texas was the ones who said, sure, but where did they get the idea?
Hold on.
Hey, look at what New York tried to do.
Why did Texas start?
Because they're worried about losing. Because they're worried about losing the House.
But why
the White House said,
wait.
And the White House said we can do it. So what, Dan?
I
don't understand why you're acting like this matters.
But yeah, I get. I agree with Mark
why
on
are we
this.
talking
Why does
about
it matter? Like the bottom line.
Why are we talking about any of this?
No. But my point is, New York tried to do this.
Who cares what California's
cycle.
doing?
The only thing that stopped New York from
doing Democrats. That's how this started. This whole segment was.
No, what I'm saying is the media's turning Gavin Newsom and Governor Hochul and Governor Pritzker into heroes when
they're responding.
But they don't have clean hands.
No one said they do.
Can I get a
the media's acting like they do.
That's not. Depends what media you follow, guys. The most popular network on cable sure isn't saying that.
Okay.
I mean, right-wing media the right-wing media is saying Texas should do this. No mention of the White House. No mention we may lose the House. The whole right-wing narrative is we have to make the delegation reflective of the state. which is utter nonsense because the state's not
Okay.
80-20.
I don't.
That is right-wing media.
Either's
everywhere.
Massachusetts, either's Maryland.
Look,
all right.
Okay,
No, we got.
there's a difference. Hold on. Can I just look
quickly?
I will yield.
Quickly.
I will cede all this. Like, Dan, yeah, sure. Texas started at this cycle. It was a response to past, but I think where there should be agreement is the following, that this has happened for years. I don't even give a crap who started it, to be honest with you. Elbridge Gerry.
Hold on. Put up Fox when you can.
But the point that matters is the following. The narrative, when Illinois did it, when New York did it, it was, okay, that's just politics. This time when Texas does it, it's, oh my God, Republicans are squeezing these guys for political purposes.
Correct.
Who cares?
Listen to Mike Huckabee. Listen to Mike Huckabee.
That's what they're talking about, and that's putting pressure again on Israel. Benjamin Netanyahu is now considering going in and controlling all of Gaza yet again. It's been 20 years. Sir, is that how this war ends?
We don't know. But here's what I can tell you. When the Europeans say we want a Palestinian state, you had one for 20 years. It was called Gaza. It was a 100% Palestinian controlled state. And we see how it turned out. You know what was interesting last week, Bill? While the Europeans were demanding that Israel make all the concessions and blaming Israel for the fact that there was a disaster going on in Gaza, which was nonsense, you had the Arab League, of all people, unanimously saying that Hamas should disarm and give all the hostages back immediately. They have it right. The Europeans have it wrong. Somebody ought to be understanding who the bad guys are here and who the good guys are. And the Europeans have clearly missed the movie.
Well, Mr. Ambassador, thank you for your time.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
And got us out of redistricting, but I want to ask one more thing. The Putin the Kremlin readout was the meeting was positive, but no specifics. Just on Gavin Newsom, Dan, how seriously are you taking this notion that this is a huge boon for him for a 2028 run? Is that serious?
Yeah, no, I think it could be. I think you said this in the opening part of the segment that there's a lot of reasons California may not be able to do this. First and foremost, going back to the Arnold Schwarzenegger era, they have a commission that does this. And so they're going to have to try to overturn that and bring it back to the legislature. But look, Newsom had a moment on immigration. Newsom had another moment when he went down to South Carolina. If somehow, and I think there's a lot of Dems in California that don't want to help Gavin here, but if he were able, I'm going to assume Texas does what they're going to do, and Gavin's able to do what he's talking about doing, look, it's leadership. I mean, whether we like it or not, whatever, you tell me what other 2028er has shown 3 moments of leadership now in the last couple months.
Yeah.
Here's what I don't get, though. Honestly, this is what I don't understand. If you're Gavin Newsom, I get the political chest thumping. Like, I'm going to be the guy that I get that. That makes sense. I'm going to match it and we're going to save this. But I still have yet to figure out whether he can actually do it. And to me, the question is, if you can't pull it off because of California's legal constraints on redistricting, then you are setting yourself up for a failure. And I would argue, if I were a competing Democrat, I'd say, look at what Gavin Newsom did. He said it. He told us he could help fix this and mitigate the situation that Texas created for Republicans, and he failed us. So I look at Gavin and say, dude, you better be careful that you don't get too far out on this ledge where you've created the expectation that you can be the hero and the savior, and then you fail.
I agree with both of you, and I agree more with Sean. According to our friend Jennifer Jacobs of CBS News, the president's announcement at 4 p.m. today in the Oval Office is Tim Apple is spending $100 billion more on investments in the U.S. Kind of announcement the president loves, which will produce a $9,000 iPhone.
Sean, I'll just say, though, I do think if Newsom comes up short, he's going to pull the Trump, which is, I tried, I fought, and these wimpy people, stop me.
And
I continue to say all these states are going to be subject to federal court rulings, and I bet you the courts may not.
Here's what just for the record, as I've said earlier, I think we get 2 seats in Texas regardless. We start going down this path right now on, Missouri, Ohio, Indiana, maybe even Florida. I feel like we have literally done the nuclear option politically,
Yeah.
and it may come back to bite us. I am very concerned about where we end up at the end of the day on this, especially how things play out. So I'm not as I think we've lit a fuse that we may not be able to put out.
Yeah. All right, quickly, we got a few more topics to go, and then to your questions. Sean, did that JD Vance Epstein dinner leak out on purpose or not?
It's a good question. I gotta think it was not. No, I don't think it was on purpose. If you look at who it went to, when it came out, I don't think JD wants to own this issue. No one wants to be the person that's like, hey, I'll take the hot potato. So I think someone's setting him up.
Yeah, Dan, who had a motive to leak the story?
I don't know, but I want to just flag that it is bonkers that the FBI director, the attorney general, the vice president, chief of staff are having a political meeting about
it's not a political meeting. It's a policy meeting.
Okay, in which the president of the United States is involved in some capacity.
Yeah. It is bonkers.
I just want to flag that at normal times, what is alleged to be happening here would dominate the news as wholly inappropriate, but it's a different era.
I do think to your question though, Mark, to me, I always find these fascinating. Who has the most, who's setting up whom? Because I can play this a couple different ways.
I agree.
Pam Bondi's the most on the back foot.
I can't remember. The Naval Observatory can be used for political stuff, right?
It's his home. So
So that's why they're doing it there, presumably. All right.
But the fact that
all right.
Well, first of all, I mean, it is a political matter. It is not like if you were actually asking, and of course I am not a lawyer, but I would argue that this isn't, so where that would be covered would be whether they were trying to raise money off of it, which they're not. So
but
in all, if
it
they
used
had
to be that stuff was independent, like the FBI.
No. But what I'm saying is,
hanging out.
It's a political issue. It is not a political matter, which is where the law
not a campaign matter. I can't wait to see the readout of this from this thing. There's some stories out there. I will just say, in closing off Epstein for now, there's some stories out there that say this whole thing is about Donald Trump, and there's stories out there that say the whole thing's about Bill Clinton. And I can tell you that I wouldn't be surprised. Let me put it that way. If there's some back channeling between the two clans. Yes, sir.
One last thing that I'll say, like, where I think that these guys have got to be careful is that this whole notion of what deal Ghislaine Maxwell may or may not get, I don't think there's any sympathy at all for what she has done and been complicit in allowing to be done. And so anything that they give her in terms of leniency, I don't think will be met well.
I agree. And I will say, I almost want to do one of those countdown clocks. It's day whatever, where there's still no answer as to why they moved her to a minimum security prison. I find that at a time when they're supposed to be fighting for transparency, it's outrageous that we don't have an explanation for that.
Every week, there's a new drip produced by the Trump administration.
I said last night on Two Way Tonight that Howard Stern had been canceled. That was premature. He might be off the air, but it's not final. I'll get that correction slid in there. All right, Fed chair quickly. Sean, who's your current favorite?
Kevin Hassett.
Dan.
All right, Mark, you've won me over. Option 4, unknown.
Yeah. It's someone who Scott Besson thinks has got stature and intelligence. It's someone who Trump thinks is good on TV and Trump trusts to do his bidding. So we shall see. And let's do one more on this.
You need to have passed economics to get this job. I'm just wondering if I.
You do. You otherwise fit the bill. Dan, will the appointment for the vacancy go to the formerly designated future chair? Yes or no?
No.
Sean?
No.
I was no, and I'm saying yes. And for the record, I was wrong yesterday on Bruce Reed. He didn't take the fit, so I'll probably be wrong again. I'm on what the opposite of a roll is. All right. Let's go to this. Brian Schatz. Is that how you pronounce it? Senator from Hawaii. I will tell you that all other things being equal, no party should make a senator from Hawaii put him in the leadership. He got Chuck Schumer's endorsement and a few other endorsements yesterday. So he's going to be in 2027. He's going to be the number 2 Senate Democrat, assuming Chuck Schumer stays. And he's the heir apparent now to Schumer. So this guy who most of you could not pick out of a lineup, who I've never met, is, and I'm saying it's some big deal I've never met. I'm just saying I have no feel for him. But this is the dynamic, future-oriented guy who lives, how many miles is it? 8,000 miles from Washington, and presumably is not the world's best fundraiser. Here's the dynamo they've chosen. Roll that.
We are not going to stop talking about this. We are going to talk about this until it is repealed. We're going to talk about this when the rates go up for your electricity. We're going to talk about this when kids are thrown off their nutritional assistance. We're going to talk about this when rural hospitals close. We are going to talk about this when your insurance coverage rates go up. We are not going to stop talking about this because this document, which was enacted into law, is a perfect encapsulation of the difference between the political parties. My party is flawed, obviously. My party is flawed. But I've never seen my...
Dan, first, let's tell me if you agree with me about no leader should be from Hawaii. It's just logistically too complicated. Do you agree?
No, I disagree, Mark, because it's a safe seat. And we've had leaders and Harry Reid from Nevada and Tom Dasher from South Dakota that became targets and it hamstrung them.
I'm not saying pick somebody from a red state, but just think about the logistics. He has to go home.
No, he's not. He's not going to go home often. He's not. And Hawaii doesn't expect it. They just like Murkowski doesn't go home every weekend. They don't expect it.
All right. Dan, based on that video clip and what you know,
can I just say
know about this guy, why is this guy being made the de facto future leader? What am I missing?
He wanted it. He wanted it. He's wanted it for years. He's hustled. He has a very good staff. His chief of staff, Rima, was Durbin's the longtime number 2 in the Senate's floor director. He's an inside baseball kind of institutionalist who has won over his colleagues with I mean, look, we can all, roll our eyes that like you ought to have a made for TV dynamic leader. But our party wanted, I mean, I will say he's got dark hair. He looks about 30 years younger than Chuck Schumer. He's not, but I mean, he's younger than him. So, start there. He's a better face, but look, he wanted it. And if you're going to beat him, someone else, the only other person who had talked about it was Amy Klobuchar, but she wants to run for president. And you can't really do both. So,
Sean, you're quaking in your boots at the thought of that guy going head to head with John.
I think the only one excited about his ascension is Ken Martin, the DNC chair. Is like, oh, that's cool.
I mean, John Thune doesn't light a room on fire. He looks good. That's about it.
That guy makes John Thune look like AOC.
No, I disagree on that. They're both institutionalists.
Yeah, I just am amazed that guy's going to do the job because again, you say he'll never have to go home. He will have to
on
go
occasion.
Home. It's just you guys been to Hawaii lately? It's like he's like lives in Japan.
Yeah.
It's just the time difference is too big.
I will say he and his colleague have one of the most popular pack trips that there is on the circuit because they hold them on opposite ends of the week. So all the lobbyists get their trips to Hawaii paid for and they bring their families and they get a week in Hawaii.
All right. One more thing on the media. The guy who up until recently was in charge of dispensing Pinocchios at the Washington Post, the fact checker, who occasionally would fact check Democrats. He's kind of like the CNN fact checker. They basically do like 90-10 fact checking of Republicans and every so often do a Democrat just so they can pretend they're balanced. That guy took the buyout and he started a Substack and he wrote in his Substack that you can put up my tweet here, whatever that is. He wrote in his Substack that the Post makes its money from its liberal audience and therefore it would be a bad business decision I'm paraphrasing, but I'm not paraphrasing it accurately or hyperbolically. It'd be a bad business decision to try to appeal to conservatives because it would alienate liberals. And that every time he did a fact check of a Democrat, the liberals complained. And he thought that was an indication that they should just dance with the one who brung them and not change the paper's liberal bias. Sean, to me, this is not saying the quiet part out loud. It's saying the silent part out loud. But what do you make of this guy? Very similar to Terry Moran, leaving dominant media and just openly saying we're liberal.
Well, it's actually very apt that you started that tweet with shades of Terry Moran, because in the last 24 hours, Terry Moran said, quote, "Were we biased?" He's speaking of ABC. Yes, almost inadvertently, I'd say. ABC has the same problem so many leading cultural institutions do in America, a lack of viewpoint diversity. And I feel like we do this all the time. Somebody leaves or is fired or pushed out of the media, starts a newsletter on Substack or whatever, and says, or goes and becomes a left-wing pundit or whatever, and we act shocked. Like, can we believe that they're telling us this? For us on the right, we have known this forever. The idea, I mean, I've had many tussles with Glenn Kessler, both about fact checks, and I use that in air quotes very liberally, that he wrote about our side. He wrote a fact check that I put in my first book that said, quoted Mike Pence on the economy. Pence had made some comment about we've gained something. This is obviously not what it, but it said, while the economy has gained 100,000 jobs, which is what Pence said, he failed to give adequate context. If the country has grown over the years, and therefore that 100,000 isn't in the full context, and I'm like, but it's still true. It's still a fact that the economy grew this many, and you're arguing that he didn't give you the full context of the size of the country vis-a-vis where it was in 1900 versus now. That's not a fact check. And so
he was a joke as a fact checker. He got all this credit. He was a joke. Hey, throw up Fox again, please.
So it's not surprising. I don't,
Dan, does this bother you at all, or no?
No, I think it's great that these people are saying this, because the only way you're going to get change is for people to start admitting it.
You're not going to get change.
All right, Dan and Sean, close your eyes. Close your eyes. Close your eyes. Listen to Fox. Tell me who's talking.
This is a clear violation of the Voting Rights Act. This has nothing to do with which direction Latino voters are swinging or not. What
sounds like the great David Hogg.
That the lines that they draw are actually disenfranchising.
Oh, I meant, I'd open my eyes. I meant the chairman. The reality is, which is funny, that name came into my head for the chair of the DNC.
And yes, while the courts do allow now for partisan gerrymandering, I think most Americans would agree that we should not have partisan gerrymandering on either side.
Tell it to Kathy Hochul.
Oh my!
That's ridiculous.
Legislation in 2021.
This is why their position is so absurd. They're acting on their high horse, like Texas is the first state to do this.
Committees in every single state. Every Democrat voted for that. Every Republican voted against that. So
well, there was a lot of. I'm going to let that go. There are a lot of other things in that bill that Republicans wanted to vote against. Let me then take it a bigger picture, because there's no question that Governor Newsom and Governor Pritzker have both, flirted with the idea of running for president. And Pritzker, and then he goes on Colbert, he's got all this attention, he's going to pay for the Democrats to stay there. How much of this has to do with their posturing for 2028?
You'd have to ask them. What I would
say is that
I know in my conversations with all of the Democratic elected officials throughout this state, they are.
By the way, the money is a big issue. I will say, I know Beto's putting some of the bill here, but
JB will fund it.
You think?
And 26.
Oh yeah.
Illegal
These guys get fined $500 a day. I mean, you're talking potentially up to well into the hundreds of thousands
because they know
all right.
they are certain to.
I think JB would know if that was missing from the account, but I'm not sure. Sean.
No, he wouldn't.
To change the.
All right. There's a Truth Social post from the president, which I'm going to read. But in the meantime, Carol, welcome in. Tell folks who don't know where you are after you unmute. Hold on. I've messed this whole thing up.
Mark, while you find it, can I just quickly say, just going back to the Washington Post stuff with Glenn Kessler?
Yeah.
For all the Democrats that sit there and say, like, it is not true that the media is biased, and there are still a lot of people in my party who say that, like, you need to read this stuff. You just do. And you need to not go in there with, your nails spitting out. Like, there is bias.
Yeah.
This is.
Carol, unmute, please. Tell folks who don't know where you are and what's on your mind for Sean and Dan. And thank you for being part of Two-Way.
Well, good morning. This is actually for you, Mark. I live in Green Bay. There's a diner at the end of the street. What would you like to know?
All right.
What's it called?
Bayside.
Bayside. Amazing. I'd like to know the number of calories in cheese fries with bacon. That'd be my first question.
No, you don't.
Carol, next time I'm there, I'd look forward to going with you to the diner.
Okay.
Are you from Green Bay originally?
Oshkosh.
Oshkosh.
I recognize that accent.
What's your favorite Wisconsin tavern?
Wisconsin tavern.
You have one?
Well, yeah. But I'd say Duke's Red Lantern.
That's a good name. I'm
Just
gonna
down,
Google it.
just across from the diner.
Yeah. All right. We'll go
Carol,
to
are you a
Duke's.
Packers fan?
Well, of course.
Who's your favorite Packer?
Well, back in the day, it was Brett, obviously.
Yeah. I'm going to my first Packers game in October.
Oh, so am I.
Really?
Which one?
Yeah. October 7th, maybe.
You're gonna do the morning
Yeah,
meet. You should do it from Lambeau. You should route in front
Sunday.
there.
It's a Sunday game, Dan.
Yeah.
No show there.
One day.
I
want
can't
to say
remember it. It's like Columbus Day weekend.
I want to say the Bengals, maybe.
I think it might be the Bengals. I think that's what it is.
Yeah, I'll be.
All right, Carol. I'll see you. I'll see you at the concession stand. I'll be the one having a brat and a brew.
Oh, the one. Okay.
Yeah.
Well done, Carol.
Carol, what's on your mind for Sean and Dan?
First of all, nobody has said anything, and I have not seen this reported anywhere. The smoke in the upper Midwest here is absolutely ridiculous from Canada.
Yeah, it's the same in New York City.
Is it from fires?
Long Island.
Yeah. It's been like this for weeks.
Do you blame Trump?
No, it's the third summer in a row, so no.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's pretty bad. I'm embarrassed to say I didn't know it was happening again, but I've experienced it. And
there's like an orange haze mark
Yeah.
over the city, and same in Long Island here. Yep.
Yeah.
Terrible. And I know Tom Tiffany sent a strongly worded letter off to somebody in Canada, but I don't see that going anywhere. But
Blame Canada.
I will.
Yeah. Carol, is that all you wanted to talk about, or do you have something else?
No, I'm good.
Okay, Carol, thank you. I'll see you
Anytime.
Columbus Day weekend, as what John Kerry would call Lambert Field.
Yeah, they're playing the Bengals. That I'm just looking here on the 12th.
Yeah, the Bengals. All right. Let's go to I think we've got a bunch of new people today, which I'm super excited about. Didn't even have to threaten to cancel the show.
Oh, I like Doug. Put a tariff on the smoke.
Joshua, welcome in. Thank you for joining. Unmute. Tell folks where you are, what's on your mind for Sean and Dan, please.
Hi, yeah, thanks. I appreciate that, Mark. So I'm in Texas right now, a hotbed of a lot of political unrest, I guess you could call it.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of questions to ask y'all, but I kind of had to settle with just one of these this morning. So it's, I guess, also for Dan and Sean, but I'd love to get their input on each other's questions.
Yes, sir.
So for Dan, oh man, it is too early for me to be writing stuff down.
Take your time.
I got the same.
We're with you.
I got to get used to it. I'm a teacher, so I better get used to it. So I'm curious, Dan, the shift from men away from the Democratic Party in the last 10 or 15 years, I'm curious what you think the strategy for them is to get them back in the fold. And I don't think it's as simple as, cut the BS with that god-awful truck commercial that Kamala Harris had. Or I guess it wasn't a truck commercial, but there were a lot. I don't know if you remember the commercial I'm talking about.
Yeah, it wasn't by her, but by supporters of her.
Right. And I mean, I watched that and I thought, is this like an SNL skit? Like it was pretty bad. And so I'm curious what you think the strategy would be for the Democrats to try to win back some of those blue collar men, or if you think it's just going to be tough sledding ahead. And then for Sean, I'm curious what he thinks the best strategy would be for the Republicans to win back a lot of those suburban voters that ended up going for Trump in the 2016 election and then kind of turned away from him, even though he won in 2024, especially the white suburban women. I'm curious what you think the best strategy is for them to win them back, or if you think that just having a less volatile personality as the Republican ticket will help them win some of them back.
Yeah.
And then if it's okay, after those two, I did have a non-political question to ask y'all.
All right, Joshua, ask that last one real quick, and then we'll get Dan and Sean. Talk
Sure.
Gender we're
So it's difficult for me to get excited about much this early in the morning, but I do look forward to watching y'all's show every morning. Just the insight is really incredible. And it's actually nice having somewhat of an unbiased opinion from a Republican and a Democrat, respectively. But so that's my excitement for the morning. And then that got me thinking, speaking of exciting things, I was curious what y'all's favorite amusement park ride is.
Joshua, that's the question we get all the time, but we're happy to answer it again. No, just kidding. Great question. Joshua, do you know what Yacht Rock is?
I do not.
You do not. All right, you're about to find out stay till the end of the program. Dan, do the gender and men and Democrats. Sean will do Republicans, and we'll all do theme parks, and then we'll see what happens next.
Sure. I think it's not going to happen overnight. Democrats winning them back. We have to earn their trust. I think, one, you have to respect the voter. Two, you have to go where they are consuming their news and entertainment and information. And the third is probably the most important. You have to have policies that appeal to them. And I think the last 10, 12 years, Democrats have targeted women because of the gender gap that's gone back 40 or 50 years and leaned into it extremely heavily. And by all accounts, one of the reasons Trump leaned into young men in 24 was that he knew Democrats were leaning in so heavily with women, and after Roe, knew he may have a problem, right? So he leaned hard the other way. But this is going to take us a while to earn the trust to the point where they even hear us. Right now, I don't even think they hear anything we say.
Yeah, so I would just say in both instances, it's actually, I think, a little bit of a cultural and then an economic. But on the men in particular, I think part of the problem is the Democrats' priorities were about fighting for the lowest common denominator, right? So whether or not you agree with the trans and that kind of issue or not, and I'm not here to litigate it, but it's not an issue that it affects a lot of people, right? Meaning that like you might know somebody or whatever, but it's not like it affects your daily life for the most part. So when they're out there fighting for an issue that affects one in, say, who knows? I have no clue here, but my point is that if you're a union member, a rank and file union member, or a young man, and you hear their priorities and go, well, what does that have to do with me? That's not who I am. That's not like and if you think about what's going on in male union households, they demonized guns, they demonized culture, they demonized, masculinity. And somehow a lot of these guys who are out there working hard, doing their job, going to church every weekend, trying to take care of their family, felt like, you don't care about me. You guys don't respect me. You care about these random issues. And so fine, I'll go with the other team. I think on our side, where we did well, I think, was a lot of these cultural issues. We spoke to women and talked about how to protect their families, about culture wars that were going to affect the ability for their kids, what they were being taught in school, how COVID was affecting them, how Maha could speak to the wellness of their family and their kids, how dyes were polluting what their kids were putting in their bodies, ultra-processed foods and forever plastics. So I think kind of getting back on issues like that, but to your point, I think when you look at a guy like J.D. Vance, he is becoming more and more appealing as people get to see him and hear him, learn about his story, hear him talk about solutions. So I feel really good. I said the other day, every time I see JD do an interview or a public appearance, it puts a smile on my face because he speaks so dynamically and to issues that people care about in a relatable way. And I think that's going to be hugely beneficial for us. And then I do love a good roller coaster.
Josh, just to clarify, can it be an attraction or does it have to be an actual ride?
Well, I was thinking an actual ride, but attraction is fine as well.
Okay. Guardians of the Galaxy at Disney is incredible.
Is that do you know if that's the Epcot one?
It's in both Florida and California, and it's a Star Wars thing, and it's just phenomenal.
Oh, I gotcha.
It's phenomenal. Dan.
I have a total fear of heights. I cannot stand roller coasters or almost any amusement park ride. But I take our kids all the time to Coney Island and always take them, and I take the photos.
Dan, It's interesting that you say that. I am petrified. Like if I can't look over the edge of my deck, and that's like 12 inches high, but yet I'll go on a roller coaster, and I don't know how I can do it.
Eiffel Tower, anything. Sistine Chapel, I get.
I also have a big soft spot for the Haunted Mansion at Disney. From my childhood, and also this is a ride. Is Jungle Cruise. Love Jungle Cruise.
Mm.
Oh, at Disney World.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Disney.
Yeah.
The Jungle Cruise tour guides. Ron Ziegler, who used to be Nixon's press secretary, was once a tour guide on the Jungle Cruise, and the script that they've used. It's not all the same as it was 50 years ago, but a lot of it's the same. And my favorite line is they say, they pass a waterfall and they say, there's the famous Schweitzer Falls named after the great humanitarian Albert Falls. Still one of my favorite jokes. Joshua, thank you for joining and for your great questions and for being part of Two Way. Greatly appreciate it. Robert, welcome in. Thank you for being part of Two Way. Unmute, tell folks where you are, what's on your mind.
Hey guys, how's it going? First of all, go Lions.
Oh,
FTP. So, I just wanted to kind of talk about
NFL.
NFL, yeah.
yikes.
Yeah.
They're playing the Falcons here coming up on Friday night. One of our kids is a huge Falcons fan.
Oh, nice. Well, I'm a little excited to see Hendon Hooker get some more snaps. But preseason football, it's nice to have it back. But
Robert, do you live in Michigan?
Yeah, I live like 40 minutes out of Detroit.
Who should the governor of Michigan be next year?
So I actually watched your interview with Duggan last night.
What'd you think?
I think it was good. I think he's been generally a pretty good mayor of Detroit.
Yeah.
I mean, looking back from when it was Kwame.
Yeah.
And that's when it was really in the tank. I think he's done a good job. Like, I worked downtown for a while out of college. Always enjoyed being able to walk like down Woodward from kind of like the river over to just go to a Tigers game.
You can walk it now.
can walk.
You couldn't back in the day. You couldn't walk it.
How about your Tigers, by the way?
There were not that along Woodward, sure, but like walking down
not all the way to the stadium.
The different neighborhoods and stuff. Yeah. Like probably maybe in a big group, big crowd or something.
A big group and somebody with a gun. Anyway, the three-term mayor of Detroit is not running for re-election for that job, but he's left the Democratic Party, running as an independent for governor. And I interviewed him on Next Up, and pretty compelling guy, but difficult to win as an independent. And we don't know who the major party nominees are going to be, but both major parties have pretty strong candidates. So I'm not sure how he thinks he's going to do the math, but impressive record in Detroit for sure.
Yeah, I'm open to him. One of the big things with him, and I think he's running for mayor of Detroit right now. The police chief, I'm blanking on his name. I think Craig. They did a really good job during like the BLM portions. Like we didn't have any issues in Detroit, and he's very supportive of the police. So.
That primary was last night, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was last night.
Yeah.
It was last night. Yeah.
In Detroit. And it wasn't the city council president. I think she won, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. Robert, question for Dan and Sean, if you would.
Yeah. So really my main thing, just kind of thinking about everything going on, kind of my main focus, I have a lot of thoughts, but is really the kind of the interest rate conversation.
Mm-hmm.
My wife and I are blessed to have good jobs. We have a home. We just found out we're expecting a baby. So our first one.
Congratulations.
Very exciting. But childcare is a huge expense. One of the big things that really kind of would help with that is having, I should say, like we bought, so we're at like a 6.7% interest rate. But one of the big things that would help with putting money back in our pockets and helping with some of the affordability would be the interest rates coming down. I get a little annoyed with some of the conversation about like too much money in the economy, stuff like that. It's like, there's a lot of people where having that extra few $100s a month would be a huge thing. And I know it's not like directly connected to it. So I guess, and obviously we don't want to get back to a high inflation area. So I guess my thing is like, what are your guys' thoughts on how we can balance getting interest rates down to help with affordability, but still working with in the bounds of inflation? Like, is it unreasonable to think that Powell should just do like one small cut, see how it works? If inflation starts to really take back up, can always move it back up. So I'll kind of leave it there.
Okay, Robert, question on the minds of tens of millions. Thank you for asking it. Sean.
Robert, how old are you?
I am 30. Think about it. 5.
Have you ever used Klarna or Affirm to pay for things?
No.
Okay. I asked this because Charlie Kirk brought this issue up the other day that I thought is fascinating about how it's basically to your point that younger Americans are having a hard time. They're using apps and stuff now, or platforms to pay for things and not able to buy into the American dream because, in many cases, things like interest rates are putting home ownership out of range. And I think it's a fascinating question that you're bringing up. So I think what you're asking it's a huge thing. The interest rates are not just helpful in terms of affordability, getting rates down so that people can maybe buy a house, but it's important because of our national debt and how we finance that, et cetera. So I believe that a substantial rate cut would be helpful. So not just a quarter basis points. I think getting it closer to 50 basis points would be much, much more helpful to the economy overall, to young Americans as they look to buy their first home, and obviously the major implications to how we finance our national debt.
Dan.
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think, look, this is the great challenge. The Federal Reserve has a dual mandate, low unemployment and price stability. And I think up until the last month, the challenge with cutting rates is the economy looked like it was very resilient and doing well. And at the same time, they just weren't quite seeing inflation at that 2% number that for the last 40 years we've desired. It wasn't far from it, but it wasn't quite there. I think now, ironically, and Joe Kernan said this to Donald Trump, the economy appears to clearly be softening. There is more of a case to cut interest rates, as you're saying. It'll help the housing market. It'll help, as Sean said. I don't think they're as worried about the interest on the debt, but it's a real challenge because you say, well, if inflation came back up, it's scarring, as you know. I mean, inflation hurt millions and millions of people, arguably is what cost Joe Biden or Kamala Harris the election. So you can't be flippant about it. It's just, it's a hard balance. They're trying to land an airplane.
Yeah. Robert, thank you. My one piece of advice to you before your baby is born, learn to swaddle.
Learn to swaddle. All right.
Learn to swaddle. Don't slack off. All right.
Good luck to your Lions.
Thanks for being part of it. All right. We're about to debut the new candidate for our theme song in just a moment.
It should be settled law.
Sean.
Trump, actually, I didn't want to get in front. Jennifer Jacobs is wrong. And I don't say that easily because of how great of a reporter she is. But I will tell you that Trump's announcement, I'm being told by my sources, is to declare this the official morning meeting song. It's going to come straight from the White House.
All right. Sean, what's on your show tonight?
It's on the iPad now?
Yeah, it's done. He's going to start breaking it out at Mar-a-Lago on the deck. So two things. One, Sean Davis from the Federalist is going to break down the latest in the Russia hoax. There's a lot of talk about the grand jury, where it's going to go, who's going to be the probe is. But the big guest tonight, Lieutenant General Keith Kellogg, Special Envoy to Ukraine, on the latest that we are seeing out of Ukraine, out of Russia. What does it mean? What do these sanctions mean? What is the State Department planning on doing this week with secondary sanctions, et cetera? I think there's a lot that is going to be announced, and hopefully we will break it all tonight at 6 o'clock.
All right. Give General Kellogg my best. I haven't spoken to him in a while. Great man. Dan, you got anything going on you want to tell everybody about?
I think I'll be on with Mr. Hannity tonight. So that'll be my thing.
Give Sean my best. Noon today, Meghan McCain, Citizen McCain, her guest, Carol Markowitz. Don't miss that. New York Post columnist, best-selling author, Carol and Meghan at noon. And then, again, reminder, I'm recording, or doing live, I should say, two-way tonight at 3 p.m. Eastern time. Mark Caputo and I will talk about all the day's news. If you want to be part of the Zoom here on the two-way platform, please join us at 3 p.m. Eastern, and then the program will unfurl as normal on YouTube at 6 Eastern time. Bridget is off for a couple weeks, much deserved rest. She'll be back on the 20th. Now, for those of you who have SiriusXM, you may be familiar with Yacht Rock. For people like Sean, it's America's finest category of music. For others, it's a nauseating experience that should never be experienced, never be tried more than once. One of you decided, watching Sean's reaction to the previous attempts to foist a AI-generated theme song on us, that the way to get this approved and victorious was to do a Yacht Rock version. Sean's all for it, as you've seen. For Dan and myself, the jury's out. Ladies and gentlemen, the world premiere, not counting X, of of the latest attempt to give us a theme song, may I present to you Two-Way Morning Meeting via Yacht Rock.
It's Two-Way with Mark and Sean and Dan, a political freeway. You got a question, raise your hand. With the presumption of grace to all, peace, love, and understanding during the call. I said it's Two-Way. It's the morning meeting where political gab is at. Here's your wicked smack greeting. Better be no smack in the chat.
Oh man, the chat is awful on this song.
They like it or they don't like it? I turned the
Oh,
chat
they
off.
don't like it. Holy cow.
They like it.
everybody.
Everybody likes it. Love it. All right. Again, if you're a fan of Yacht Rock, of course, that's your vote. And I like Yacht Rock fine, but
We're in conversation with Michael McDonald to do background vocals to come in heavy.
The polls are still open. If you want to vote for that one, please do. And if you want to submit a new version, I'd like a rap at some point. I'd like some hip hop. So please submit that. And I'm saying goodbye because I got to go do Michael's Sporkanish. If you have SiriusXM, take it off Yacht Rock and put it on POTUS because I'll be on with Michael.
Yacht Rock,
For the
Channel
moment,
15.
I'll see you at 3 o'clock today for the Two-Way tonight, and we'll be back in 23 hours, 59 minutes. Have a great day, everybody.